The clock on the gas station wall read 2:17 a.m. when I finally accepted the truth. My own son had abandoned me on a highway in the middle of nowhere, Nevada. I was standing there in the fluorescent-lit convenience store, still wearing my good church dress from a wedding, holding my phone with shaky hands. My son Tyler's voicemail message played for the 7th time. "Sorry, Mom. We thought you got a ride with Ashley's cousin. We're already on the road home, you'll figure something out." Figure something out. At 70 years old, 800 miles from home, with just $47 in my purse, the young man behind the counter, couldn't have been more than 20, looked at me with the kind of pity that makes your stomach turn. "Ma'am, you sure you're okay? You've been standing there for an hour." That's when it hit me. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. My son, the boy I raised from diapers, the man I'd sacrificed everything for. He left me at a gas station like I was trash he couldn't be bothered to carry home. Hit that subscribe button if you want to hear how I went from being abandoned and broke to holding all the cards. Because trust me, what I discovered about my family after that gas station, and what I did about it, that's the real story. I need to ask you something. And I want you to really think about this. Have you ever been thrown away by people who claim to love you? Have you ever realized that your kindness was being seen as weakness? Drop your answer in the comments, because I have a feeling I'm not the only grandmother who's been there. Let me take you back 15 years, to when my world fell apart the first time. My name is Precious Williams. I was 55 when the foreman knocked on my door at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. My husband Robert had fallen from scaffolding on a construction site, 3 stories down onto concrete. The doctor said he died instantly, but I still wonder if he called my name. One day I was married to my best friend of 32 years. The next day, I was a widow with a son who couldn't keep his life together, and bills that wouldn't stop coming. Robert's life insurance gave me enough to buy a small house, nothing fancy, just a little 3-bedroom ranch with a postage stamp yard. But it was mine. I took a job at the hospital as a custodian. Night shifts, mostly. Mopping floors, emptying trash, cleaning bathrooms that smelled like disinfectant and despair. My back ached every morning, my hands were raw from bleach, but it was honest work. It paid the bills. My son Tyler was 20 when his father died, and that made him lost in the world. College wasn't for him, so he dropped out twice, spent his tuition money on God knows what. Then came the drinking. Then came the drugs. Then came the phone calls at 2 in the morning from police stations and hospital emergency rooms. "Mom, I messed up, can you come get me?" I always came. Always. Drove through snowstorms and thunderstorms in my own exhaustion to bring my boy home. Paid for his first rehab when he was 23. $12,000 I didn't have. Put it all on credit cards. Then I paid for his second rehab when he was 25. $15,000 that time. When Tyler got his first DUI, I paid for the lawyer. When he got his second DUI, I paid for the better lawyer. When he crashed his car into somebody's fence, I paid for the repairs and the court costs, and the community service supervisor who made sure Tyler showed up. My coworkers at the hospital used to ask me why I didn't just let him face the consequences. "Precious," they'd say, "sometimes you've got to let them fall. But you don't understand. When you've held someone as a baby, when you've walked the floors with them through fevers and nightmares, when you've been their first word and their safe place, you can't just let them fall. You catch them, even when it breaks your back." Then Tyler met Ashley. She was 22, pregnant, and scared. The baby wasn't Tyler's, but Tyler swore he loved her, swore he'd be a good father. I welcomed that girl into my house like she was my own daughter. Made up the spare room for her, bought maternity clothes, drove her to doctor appointments when Tyler was too high to function. Emma was born on a rainy Thursday in April. 7 pounds 2 ounces of pure perfection. I held that baby girl and promised her I'd always be there. Always. When Tyler decided he wanted to get clean for real, I paid for trade school. Plumbing certification cost $8,000. I worked double shifts for 6 months, came home with my feet bleeding in my shoes, just to give my son a chance at a real career. And you know what? It worked. Tyler got clean, started his own plumbing business. Little Jake came along 2 years later. I had my son back, a daughter-in-law who called me mom, and 2 grandchildren who lit up my world. I watched Emma and Jake every day while Tyler and Ashley worked. Picked him up from school, helped with homework, made dinner, gave baths. Those were the best years of my life. Emma would curl up in my lap while I read to her. Jake would help me tend my little garden, his tiny hands covered in dirt and joy. Christmas mornings I'd go all out. Spent my entire Christmas bonus from the hospital on toys and clothes and everything those babies wanted. I'd wrap presents until my fingers were raw from tape, just to see their faces light up. Tyler and Ashley would give me generic gifts, a bottle of perfume from the drugstore, a scarf from the clearance rack. But seeing my grandbabies happy, that was worth more than gold. Every date night, every weekend getaway, every vacation Tyler and Ashley took, I was there. Babysitting, making sure Emma got to her dance classes, making sure Jake got to his soccer games. I rearranged my work schedule around their lives. I was their built-in childcare, their safety net, their grandmother who never said no. Ashley used to complain that my house was too small for family gatherings. "We can't fit everyone in here, Precious. It's embarrassing." But somehow, we always made it work. I'd move all my furniture against the walls, set up card tables in the living room, cook for days just to make sure everyone had enough to eat. I thought I was building something beautiful. A family. A legacy. I thought love meant sacrifice. And sacrifice meant never saying no. But then things started changing. Tyler's business took off. It really took off. He was making more money than I'd ever seen in my life. They moved to a house in Millbrook Estates, where the doctors and lawyers live. 5 bedrooms, 3-car garage, swimming pool in the backyard. That's when Ashley started making little comments. "Precious, maybe you should update your wardrobe. You're representing the family now." "Precious, those opinions are a little outdated, don't you think?" "Precious, we're eating at nicer restaurants now. You might want to learn some table manners." Family dinners stopped happening at my house. Instead, we'd meet at expensive restaurants where I'd pay for everyone's meals but sit there feeling like I didn't belong. Ashley would order the most expensive thing on the menu. Tyler would order drinks that cost more than my daily wages. And I'd sit there with my senior citizen discount, trying to pretend I fit in. Tyler stopped asking for my advice. When I'd try to talk to him about money, "Honey, I'd been poor my whole life. I knew how fast money could disappear," he'd wave me off. "Mom, you don't understand business. This is different." Ashley started suggesting I was getting forgetful when I'd question their spending. "Oh, Precious, you're confused again. Remember, we talked about this?" But I wasn't confused. I was watching my successful son and daughter-in-law spend money like it was going out of style while asking me for help with their bills. Emma and Jake started acting embarrassed by their poor grandmother. Ashley would dress them in designer clothes for school, then drop them off at my little house where I'd feed them store-brand cereal and pack their lunches in brown paper bags. "Grandma," Emma said one day, "why don't you have a big house like us?" How do you explain to an 8-year-old that your grandmother gave everything she had to make sure your daddy could have his big house? The breaking point came when I overheard Ashley on the phone with her sister. I was in the kitchen making dinner for the kids, and she was in the living room, talking loud like she forgot I was there. "She's becoming dead weight, honestly. Like, we appreciate everything she did, but we don't need her anymore. Tyler's making good money now. We can afford our own babysitter. But she just hangs around, and the kids are getting older. They don't need their grandmother hovering all the time. Dead weight. After everything I'd given, everything I'd sacrificed, I was dead weight." But the lies, the lies were what really got me. Tyler would show up at my door with his face all serious, talking about how tight money was, how they were struggling. "Mom, Emma needs surgery, her appendix, can you help us out?" I'd give him $2,000 from my savings. Worry sick about my granddaughter for weeks. Then I'd find out later, Emma was perfectly fine. Tyler had used my money for a weekend in Vegas. Ashley would post pictures on Facebook from their trips to Myrtle Beach, their new furniture, their expensive dinners. Then she'd call me crying about how they couldn't make rent, how they needed help with groceries. I kept giving because I thought that's what love meant. I thought that's what families do. I didn't know they were planning to throw me away like yesterday's garbage. 1 year ago, I was mopping the pediatric ward at St. Mary's Hospital when my phone rang. Unknown number, but something told me to answer it. "Is this Mrs. Precious Williams?" The voice was professional, formal. "This is attorney David Richardson from Richardson and Associates. I'm calling about the estate of Eleanor Whitfield. You were named as a beneficiary." Eleanor Whitfield. Sweet Eleanor. I had to sit down right there in that hospital hallway. 2 years earlier, I'd met Eleanor in the oncology wing. She was this tiny, elegant woman getting chemotherapy treatments, always dressed like she was going to tea with the queen. Silk scarves, pearl earrings, perfectly manicured nails, even when she was sickest. Most patients had family with them. Eleanor sat alone, reading books that looked older than me. During my lunch breaks, I'd sit with her. We'd talk about everything. Her late husband, my Robert. Books, gardening, life. She was one of the kindest souls I'd ever met. For 2 years, I visited Eleanor every day I worked. Even on my days off, I'd stop by. Brought her homemade soup when she couldn't eat hospital food. Held her hand during the worst treatments. She'd tell me stories about traveling the world with her husband, about the charity work they'd done. Eleanor never mentioned money. Never talked about inheritance or wills or what would happen after. She was just my friend. My sweet, brave friend, who fought cancer with more dignity than anyone deserved to have to show. When Eleanor passed, I went to her funeral. Small service, barely 20 people. I thought I was just there to say goodbye to someone who'd brightened my hardest days. I never expected that phone call. "Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Whitfield has left you her entire estate. $2.8 million, plus her vintage jewelry collection. She's also left a letter for you." I dropped my mop bucket. Dirty water splashed across that hospital floor, and I just stared at it like it was the most interesting thing in the world. $2.8 million. The lawyer read me Eleanor's letter over the phone, and I cried right there in that hallway. "Precious," she'd written, "you gave me something money can't buy. Genuine friendship and love. You visited me not because you had to, but because you wanted to. You held my hand through the scariest time of my life. You deserve to be taken care of for once." I didn't tell anyone. Not Tyler, not Ashley, not my coworkers. I went to that law office in my cleaning uniform, signed papers I barely understood, and walked out with a bank account that had more zeros than I'd ever seen in my life. But here's what I decided to do. I decided to test my family, to see if they'd help me when I needed it, the way I'd helped them for decades. I kept working at the hospital, kept living in my little house, kept pretending I was just Precious the widow, Precious the grandmother, Precious who cleaned toilets for a living. But I watched. And I waited. 3 months after Eleanor's money came through, I called Tyler. "Honey, my car's making that noise again. The mechanic says it needs a new transmission. $800. I hate to ask, but could you help me out? I'll pay you back when I can." Tyler sighed, like I'd asked him to donate a kidney. "Mom, I can't just write you a check every time something goes wrong. Maybe you should find a boyfriend with money, or sell that house and move somewhere you can afford." Ashley laughed in the background. Actually laughed. "Precious, you're 70 years old. It's time to think about senior living. Let professionals take care of you." $800. I had almost $3 million in the bank, and my son couldn't spare $800 for the woman who'd given him everything. That's when I knew I had to test them further. 6 months later, Tyler came to me with a proposition. "Mom, Ashley and I want to buy a bigger house. 5 bedrooms, 3-car garage. The kids need more space, and we're doing really well with the business. But we need someone to co-sign because, You know, my credit's still not perfect from the old days. He looked at me with those eyes that used to melt my heart when he was 5 years old. We want you to live with us, Mom. Really live with us. You could have your own room, spend more time with the grandkids. We'll take care of you. I should have said no. I should have seen right through it. But some part of me, the part that raised that boy, the part that loved him more than my own life, that part wanted to believe. How much is the down payment? I asked. 200,000. I nearly choked. But I had the money. Eleanor's money. Money they didn't know existed. I'll do it, I said. But the house goes in my name, for tax purposes. Tyler agreed so fast it should have been my first warning sign. I withdrew $200,000 from Eleanor's account. Told Tyler it was my entire life savings, everything I'd managed to scrape together from decades of hospital work. He believed me because he wanted to believe me. The house was beautiful. 2-story colonial in the best neighborhood in town. The kind of house I'd dreamed about when I was young and stupid and thought dreams came true. Moving day, I was so excited. I packed my little belongings, said goodbye to my small house, and moved into what I thought would be my new life. The first red flag was my bedroom. Tyler and Ashley had the master suite, of course. Emma and Jake each had their own rooms with princess beds and race car themes. There was a guest room, an office, even a media room. My room was the smallest bedroom upstairs, right next to the laundry room. It's perfect for you, Mom, Ashley said. Close to everything you'll need. What I needed, apparently, was to be their live-in help. The morning after I moved in, Ashley handed me a piece of paper. I made us a schedule so we're all organized. It was a chore schedule, with my name on it, every day. Breakfast duty, lunch prep, dinner cooking, laundry, cleaning, childcare pickup. Ashley, I said, this looks like I'm doing everything. She started crying. Right there in the kitchen, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, Precious, I'm just so overwhelmed. I think I'm having postpartum depression again. Jake was 6 years old. But I did it. I cooked their meals, cleaned their house, did their laundry. Tyler would come home from work and collapse on the couch, demanding dinner and quiet children. When I'd try to talk to him about maybe helping more, he'd shake his head. Mom, you don't understand the pressure I'm under. I'm supporting this whole family. You're supposed to be helping, not adding to my stress. Supporting the family. With my money. In my house. They made plans without me. Family outings, vacations, even Emma's birthday party. I'd find out after the fact, when I'd ask where everyone was. Oh, we didn't think you'd want to come, Ashley would say. You're always so tired. I paid for everything. Utilities, groceries, repairs, pool maintenance. But I wasn't allowed to decorate. When I tried to hang a picture of Robert in the living room, Ashley took it down. It doesn't match our aesthetic, she said. This went on for months. I kept thinking it would get better. I kept thinking they'd remember I was their mother, their grandmother, not their servant. Then came the trip to Nevada. Ashley's sister was getting married in Las Vegas. Big family wedding, Ashley was the maid of honor. It'll be fun, Mom, Tyler said. Family road trip. I paid for the gas, I paid for the hotel rooms, I paid for the meals and the snacks and the souvenirs for the kids. The day of the wedding, Ashley had what she called an emergency. Her maid of honor dress didn't fit right. Too tight in the waist, too long in the hem. Precious, there's a 24-hour Walmart 15 minutes from here. I need you to go get me a new dress and some safety pins and maybe some of that double-sided tape. The wedding's at 2. I'm panicking. It was 11 p.m. I was tired, my feet hurt, and I'd been up since 5 a.m. helping Ashley get ready. But I went. Because that's what I did. I helped. I found a dress, found the tape and pins and everything else on Ashley's list. Paid for it all with my card. Drove back to the hotel to find nothing. Empty parking lot where our car had been. I called Tyler, voicemail. Called Ashley, voicemail. Called Tyler again, voicemail. For 3 hours, I sat in that Walmart parking lot, calling my son every 15 minutes. Finally, at 2:30 a.m., Ashley answered. Oh, Precious, we're already on the road home. I thought you got a ride with Carol. What Carol? Ashley, I've been sitting here for hours. I'm 800 miles from home. I'm sure you'll figure something out. You always do. Tyler's tired. He needs to drive. The line went dead. I sat there in my rental car, thank God for credit cards, and cried. At 70 years old, I cried in a Walmart parking lot at 3 a.m. because my own family had thrown me away like garbage. But, you know what the worst part was? When I got home 14 hours later, driving through the night with my hands shaking and my heart breaking, I found the house locked. Security code changed. My key didn't work. Tyler's text came an hour later, figured you'd find your way back eventually. That's when I knew. They didn't just not care about me. They wanted me gone. If you're still watching this story, if you're invested in what happens next, hit that subscribe and like button. Because what I did after that gas station, how I turned the tables on people who thought they could throw away a grandmother like yesterday's trash, that's when this story gets really interesting. I want to ask you something, and I need you to be honest in the comments. Have you ever been abandoned by people who were supposed to love you? Because what I learned in that hotel room over the next 3 days changed everything. For 3 days, I stayed in a hotel 5 minutes from the house I'd paid for. Tyler and Ashley didn't call, didn't text, didn't check if I was alive or dead. But I wasn't crying anymore. I was planning. I called Eleanor's attorney. I called a private investigator. I called a mental health counselor who specialized in family trauma. And I learned some very interesting things about my loving son and daughter-in-law. Tyler's business wasn't just doing well, it was making over $400,000 a year. Ashley had secret credit cards with $45,000 in debt, shopping sprees, spa treatments, designer clothes. Most interesting of all, they'd been planning to have me declared mentally incompetent. Put me in a memory care facility. Take full control of the house. The house that was in my name. Bought with my money. Eleanor's money. They thought they were so smart, they thought they had it all figured out. They had no idea who they were messing with. 1 month ago, I found out about Emma's school talent show, the same way I found out about everything else in my granddaughter's life. By accident. I was at the grocery store when I ran into Mrs. Henderson, Emma's piano teacher. "Oh, Precious, I'm so excited for Emma's performance next Friday. She's been working so hard on that Chopin piece." Emma was playing piano? My Emma? I'd been secretly paying for her lessons for 2 years, slipping Mrs. Henderson cash every month because Tyler and Ashley said they could afford music lessons. They had no idea I was funding their daughter's talent. "I'll be there," I told Mrs. Henderson, even though nobody had invited me. I bought my own ticket. $25 to watch my granddaughter perform a piece I'd paid for her to learn. I showed up in my best dress, the navy blue one with the little flowers that Ashley always said made me look frumpy and old-fashioned. The school auditorium was packed with families. Proud parents with their cameras ready, grandparents holding programs like treasures. And there was Tyler's family, sitting in the 3rd row with 3 empty seats that should have been saved for me. I sat in the back by myself. That's when I heard Ashley's voice, loud enough for half the auditorium to hear. "We're so worried about Tyler's mother," she was saying to a group of other parents. "She's been having these memory issues lately. Yesterday she forgot she'd already fed the cat 3 times. Last week she put salt in her coffee instead of sugar." I'd never forgotten to feed any cat. I don't even drink coffee. But Ashley kept going. "She's been having these inappropriate outbursts too. Gets angry over nothing, says things that don't make sense. We're trying to be patient, but it's getting harder." The other parents nodded with that look people get when they think they're hearing about someone else's tragedy. Sympathetic, pitying, grateful it wasn't happening to them. "Have you considered memory care?" one woman asked. Ashley sighed like she was carrying the weight of the world. "We're looking into options. It's just so hard, you know? Making decisions for someone you love when they can't make good decisions for themselves anymore." I sat there in the back row, listening to my daughter-in-law lie about my mental state to a room full of strangers. creating a narrative that would make it easy to explain why they'd eventually shipped me off somewhere I couldn't cause them any more problems. Then Emma came on stage. 8 years old, wearing a yellow dress I'd bought her, sitting at that piano like she'd been born to play. When she started that Chopin piece, my heart nearly burst with pride. Every note perfect, every phrase flowing like water. My granddaughter, playing music I'd made possible. When she finished, the audience erupted in applause. Emma curtsied, her face glowing with joy, and then she saw me in the back. Her whole face lit up. "Grandma!" she called out, jumping down from the stage steps. She ran straight to me, arms wide, ready for the biggest hug I'd given her in months. But before she could reach me, Ashley was there, grabbing Emma's arm, pulling her away. "Emma, no. Remember what we talked about? Grandma isn't feeling well tonight." Emma looked confused, looking back and forth between me and her mother. "But Grandma looks fine." "Sometimes people can look fine on the outside, but not be fine on the inside," Ashley said, loud enough for everyone around us to hear. "Grandma is getting some professional help for her condition. We'll see her when the doctors say it's okay." Professional help. For my condition. In front of my granddaughter and a room full of people who now thought I was some kind of dangerous lunatic. Emma's eyes filled with tears. "What's wrong with Grandma?" "Nothing's wrong with me, baby," I started to say, but Ashley cut me off. "Emma, we need to go. Say goodbye to Grandma." Emma waved at me from across the aisle like I was contagious. Like her own grandmother might hurt her if she got too close. I left that auditorium with my heart shattered into a million pieces. But the real breaking point came 3 days later. I was scrolling through Facebook when I saw Ashley's post. A long, heartfelt status update with a picture of her looking exhausted and sad. Dealing with aging relatives is one of the hardest things we've ever faced as a family. When someone you love starts showing signs of memory loss and behavioral changes, you feel so helpless. We're trying to do what's best for everyone involved, especially the children. Some days I don't know if we're making the right choices, but we have to protect our family. Prayers appreciated during this difficult time. #family struggles, #Alzheimer's awareness, tough choices. 47 likes, 23 comments, all of them supportive. "You're doing the right thing, Ashley. Memory care facilities are amazing now." "My mother went through the same thing. It's heartbreaking but necessary." "Have you looked into legal guardianship? Sometimes that's the only way to help them." I screenshotted every single comment. Then I called my lawyer. The next week, Tyler and Ashley went on what they called a business trip. I knew better. Ashley's Instagram stories showed casino floors and poolside drinks in Atlantic City. A long weekend gambling away money they claimed they didn't have. Perfect timing. I called the best real estate agent in town. Patricia Summers, the woman who sold houses to doctors and lawyers and people with more money than sense. "Mrs. Williams, this is a beautiful property," she said, walking through the house with her clipboard and measuring tape. "Recently updated, perfect condition, excellent neighborhood. We should have no trouble selling this." "How quickly?" I asked. "With the right price?" "Days, not weeks. We listed it for $1.2 million. The same house Tyler thought he owned, that he'd been telling people was his big success story. His proof that he'd made it in the world. Within 24 hours, we had 6 showing requests. Within 48 hours, we had 4 offers. All above asking price. I accepted the cash offer from a young couple expecting their first baby. Jason and Maria Rodriguez, both teachers, who'd been saving for years to buy their dream home. They reminded me of Robert and me when we were young and hopeful and thought the world was full of possibilities. The sale closed in 10 days. Cash transactions move fast when there's no financing to wait for. While Tyler and Ashley were losing money at blackjack tables, I was signing papers that transferred ownership of their dream house to people who would actually appreciate it. My lawyer made sure everything was airtight. Tyler's name had never been on the deed. Never been on the mortgage. Never been on a single utility account. The house was mine, bought with my money, maintained with my money, and I had every legal right to sell it. The private investigator's report was 3 inches thick. Tyler's business income, Ashley's secret spending, their real financial picture, their social media posts about their expensive lifestyle. Documentation of every lie they'd told me about needing money. Most importantly, I had myself examined by an independent psychiatrist, Dr. Faith Coleman, one of the most respected geriatric specialists in the state. Clean bill of mental health. Sharp as a tack. No signs of memory loss, dementia, or any other cognitive decline. All of Ashley's lies about my condition were just that, lies. I arranged for a professional moving company to pack all of Tyler and Ashley's belongings. Every piece of furniture, every toy, every designer handbag and expensive gadget. All of it carefully boxed and stored in a climate-controlled facility across town. I kept the keys to the storage unit. When Tyler and Ashley came home from their gambling weekend tanned and hungover and probably down a few $1,000s, they found new locks on the doors and a note taped to the front door. House sold. Your belongings are in storage. Contact my attorney for details. Tyler called me 17 times in the first hour. I didn't answer. Ashley left voicemails that started with begging and ended with threats. I didn't listen to them. Instead, I sat in my new apartment, a beautiful one-bedroom with a view of the lake, and I planned my next move. Because selling their house? That was just the beginning. Tyler and Ashley came looking for me at the real estate office, screaming at me like I'd committed murder instead of selling my own house. Tyler's face was getting redder by the minute. "Mom, you can't do this. We have children. Where are we supposed to live?" I reached into my purse and pulled out a manila envelope, thick, heavy, full of truths they never expected me to uncover. "Tyler, Ashley, sit down. We need to have a conversation we should have had a long time ago." "We're not sitting down until you explain how you stole our house," Ashley shrieked. I opened the envelope calmly, like I was sorting through grocery coupons. "This isn't your house, Ashley. It never was. But let me tell you about some money you didn't know I had." I pulled out the first document. Eleanor Whitfield's will. Official, legal, undeniable. 2 years ago, I befriended a woman at the hospital. Eleanor Whitfield. Sweet lady, going through chemotherapy. I sat with her during treatments, brought her soup, held her hand when she was scared. I never knew she was wealthy. When she died, she left me $2.8 million. Tyler's mouth fell open so wide, I could have thrown a baseball into it. 2.8, Ashley whispered. Million. Plus her jewelry collection, worth another $400,000. The real estate agent looked like she wanted to disappear into the leather furniture. You had that money this whole time?" Tyler stammered. "The whole time you were asking me for help with Emma's fake medical bills. The whole time Ashley was crying about not being able to afford groceries while posting pictures of her spa days on Instagram." I pulled out the next set of papers, the private investigator's report. "Speaking of money, let's talk about yours. Tyler, your business made $423,000 last year. Ashley, you have 7 credit cards with a combined debt of $47,000. Nordstrom, Saks, that little boutique downtown where a purse costs more than I made in a month." Ashley's face went white as fresh paint. "But the most interesting thing," I continued, pulling out my phone, "is this recording." I pressed play. Ashley's voice filled that quiet office, crystal clear. "We're looking into memory care options. It's just so hard, making decisions for someone you love when they can't make good themselves anymore." Ashley lunged for my phone, but I held it away from her. "That's from Emma's talent show, where you told a room full of people I had memory problems and needed professional help. Funny thing is, I had myself examined by Dr. Faith Coleman last week. Want to see the results?" I slid another paper across the table. Clean bill of mental health, sharp as a tack, no signs of cognitive decline whatsoever. Tyler collapsed into the chair like someone had cut his strings. "Mom, you didn't what, Tyler? You didn't abandon me at a gas station in Nevada? You didn't change the locks on the house I paid for? You didn't plan to have me declared incompetent so you could take control of my assets?" Ashley found her voice then. and it was full of rage. "This is your fault. You should have told us about the money. We could have made different choices if we'd known." I looked at her for a long moment. Really looked at her. This woman I'd welcomed into my home, who I'd treated like a daughter, who I'd sacrificed for and loved and supported. Different choices, Ashley? Like what? Treating me with basic human decency? Not abandoning me on a highway? Not lying to strangers about my mental health? You don't understand the pressure we were under. Pressure? You make almost $500,000 a year. I made $12 an hour mopping floors, and I still found money to help you whenever you asked. Tyler was crying now, full-on sobbing like he was 8 years old again. "Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know I messed up. We both messed up. But please, we can fix this. We're family." Family. That word used to mean everything to me. Let me tell you about each betrayal, Tyler, one by one, so we're all clear about what family meant to you. I pulled out a notebook. I'd written it all down. Every lie, every manipulation, every time they'd use my love against me. "And then," I said, my voice steady as a rock, "you abandoned me at a gas station, your own mother, 800 miles from home, in the middle of the night." Tyler was sobbing so hard he could barely speak. I know, I'm sorry, we thought you'd be fine. You always land on your feet. I'm 70 years old, Tyler. I know. Please, Mom, give us another chance. We'll do better. We'll pay you back. Everything. We'll make it right." Ashley wasn't crying. Ashley was angry. "This is ridiculous. We're your family. We made mistakes, but families forgive each other. You can't just throw us away over money." "Over money?" I stood up then, all 5 feet 2 inches of me, and I felt 10 feet tall. "Ashley, this isn't about money. This is about respect. This is about love. This is about treating family like family instead of like servants." I pulled out one more paper. A real estate listing for a beachfront condo in St. Petersburg, Florida. I bought this last week. 2 bedrooms, ocean view, walking distance to art classes in the library. I'm moving to Florida in 2 days. Tyler's face crumpled. "You're leaving?" "I'm leaving. And before you ask, no, you can't have my new address. Not yet." "What about Emma and Jake?" Ashley demanded. "What about your grandchildren?" "Emma and Jake are welcome to visit me in Florida anytime their father proves he's changed. When Tyler shows me he can support his own family without lying and manipulating, when he shows me he understands that love isn't a credit card you max out whenever you want something, then we'll talk about visits. If you've stuck with me this far, if you're invested in seeing how this story ends, hit that subscribe button. Because what happened after I walked out of that real estate office changed everything. Not just for me, but for my family too. If you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Would you forgive them? Or make them regret their actions like I did? Drop your answer in the comments. Because this grandmother learned the hard way that some people only value you for what you can give them. I packed up my papers, closed my purse, and walked toward the door. The storage unit with your belongings is on Maple Street, Unit 47. The first month is paid for. After that, it's your responsibility. Mom, wait. I turned around one last time. Tyler, I love you. I will always love you. But I won't let you use me anymore. When you're ready to have a real relationship, one based on respect instead of need, love instead of manipulation, you know how to find me. And I walked out. 1 week later, I'm sitting on my balcony in St. Petersburg, watching the sunrise paint the Gulf of Mexico in shades of pink and gold. I'm wearing a bright yellow sundress that Ashley would probably call inappropriate for my age. And I don't care. Yesterday I volunteered at the Literacy Center, helping adults learn to read. Tomorrow I'm starting a watercolor class. Tonight I'm having dinner with my new neighbor, Dorothy, who moved here from Michigan after her husband died and her kids tried to convince her to move into assisted living. We understand each other, Dorothy and I. Tyler has called twice. The first time I answered, he apologized again, promised he'd changed, and begged me to come home. I told him I was home. He could visit when he was ready to visit a mother, not a bank account. The second call I let go to voicemail. He wasn't ready yet. Emma sent me a drawing through FaceTime yesterday. A picture of a beach with two stick figures, one labeled Grandma and one labeled Emma. "I want to visit you," she said. "Daddy says maybe next year if he's good." Maybe next year. If he's good. Ashley filed for divorce last week. Apparently, when Tyler's business started struggling without my financial support, when the reality of their actual expenses hit their actual income, when Tyler fell apart under the pressure of supporting his family on his own money, well, Ashley decided she'd rather find a man who came with a built-in mother-in-law she could manipulate. Good luck to her with that. I spent 60 years of my life thinking that love meant sacrifice. That being a good mother, a good grandmother, meant saying yes to everything and no to nothing. I thought that setting boundaries was selfish, that protecting myself was cruel. I was wrong. Love isn't letting people destroy you in the name of family. Love isn't enabling someone's worst behavior because you're afraid of losing them. Love is saying no when no is the right answer. Love is walking away when staying hurts everyone involved. I'm not the same woman who got abandoned at that gas station 3 months ago. I'm not the woman who mopped floors and gave everything and asked for nothing in return. I'm Precious Williams. I have $3 million in the bank, a beautiful home by the ocean, and a life that belongs entirely to me. And for the first time in decades, I'm not taking care of anyone but myself. It feels like freedom. If you enjoyed this story, like, subscribe, and share with others so they can learn too. See you in our next video.